Welcome to the very first episode of our mini series for my fat loss phase coming up. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to say no to doing the half marathon. Nothing bad happened, but when you are doing more long distance running, it requires a lot of time for training and it requires a lot of recovery.
Yes.
And I was just getting to the point where within Thriving On, Toby knows this, we have so many projects in the background right now where I'm like, I need to adult. I need to I can do this goal next year. We need to focus on all the big things that are coming up that we're very, very excited for. So I still wanted a goal. And this goal kind of kills two birds with one stone. I have to call myself out on something. And Toby knows, he's seen this too, is I've had such a horrible fixed mindset when it comes to social media. Like the whole, like it has to be perfect. I don't know what to do, so I'm just not going to do anything. I don't know my voice. I don't know what I want to do. All these different things of like uncertainty. And the thing is the only way for me to actually figure those things out is start doing it. But I've been just such a butthead to myself and not doing anything at all. So there's this trend that I can actually really get behind on social media right now where there's these people that are posting every single day and they have a goal of reaching this specific goal, whether it's a weight or body composition or something like that. And they're also posting every single day. They're like, I'm going to post every single day until either I hit this specific fitness goal or I hit this many followers. And so I really like this concept because one, it's really going to give me the kick in the butt that I need. It's kind of scary, but we need to do something scary to grow. So I'm going to lean into it, even though I'm like, crap, what did I get myself into? But I am going to use this as a fat loss phase. One, I'm a little heavier than I normally am. I'm like not hating on myself, but I am a little uncomfy in my body, a little tighter clothes. Definitely going through the happy phase. Me and Calvin have been together for just a little over a year and we've had a lot of fun, but it's time to rein things in. And I think a fat loss phase would be really like a really great choice to go into. Two, I also want to share that going into a fat loss phase doesn't have to suck in comparison to what you see on social media. You see a lot of fear mongering. You see a lot of extreme tactics and God, I see a lot of these reels. I'm like, this is the exact reason why I struggle with disordered eating and an eating disorder majority of my life. And I just wish more people would know that it doesn't have to suck. And finally, I am not one of those people that like social media. I don't like the light on me, but if we want to make an impact on as many people as possible, help them become the seed of their health, the thing that we need to do is be on social media. It is what it is. That's where everybody's at. And if we can get people to see what we're talking about and get away from diet culture bullshit and actually learn what works best for them so they can see results, but also make their life significantly better, we have to be out there. And so this just kills all the birds with one stone. And so I obviously am going to have Toby coach me.
Yeah.
Toby is like probably one of the best coaches I've ever met. He's freaking dope. So glad to have him on staff.
You're going to make me blush.
Stop. It's like that whole like, stop it. Stop it. You're making me blush. No, Toby is amazing coach. Very, very excited to have him coach me through this whole thing. Two, coaches need coaches too.
Hell
Seriously,
yeah.
coaches are people as well. And a lot of times coaches get into this whole health and fitness thing because they struggled with themselves. They've gone through a lot of things. They wanted to learn how to fix themselves. And so they take that and they help other people too. So I struggle with disordered eating patterns, eating disorder my whole life. And also with that background, sometimes I get a little emotional, especially being in a calorie deficit. I do get triggered a little bit. And the reason why is because I've done extreme calorie deficits where it just wrecks me. And like, I'm always afraid that my mindset, that extreme mindset's going to come back in. So just having somebody in my corner to just
we all have, no?
Yeah, we all have those moments and we're all human, and having somebody in our corner helps us prevent that self-sabotage. Helps it make a lot easier. Even if we know what to do. Like, how many times have you coached somebody, Toby, that they like manage people or they're coaches themselves and you're coaching them? They're like, God damn it. This is what I tell other people. Why can't I do it for myself?
Right. The way I like to put it, and I just had a team meeting yesterday with the coaches from our gym. And it's the goal that we have is we want to see people win, right? And the people that come and seek out help are the ones that aren't able to win by themselves. It's they may know theoretically what to do. And I firmly believe most people do. Like if you flag someone down on the street and you say, I'm giving you $1,000 if you tell me what I should be doing to get in better shape, you will probably get a pretty generalized answer that is more correct than not.
Yeah.
Yet, we are struggling to execute the things that we know we should be doing, or we don't have the time to acquire the knowledge that I need to remove some of the roadblocks myself that I have, or I just don't see or recognize the underlying issue, right? It's because we're naturally, I was about to say, we're naturally going to be a little bit blind towards the more uncomfortable things.
Also biased. Like, for example, I'm never going to program for myself because I'm always going to program the things that I like. But usually in order to get better, you have to program the things you don't like in order to get better. So
see?
Yeah, like you want to delegate those kinds of things. And also, like, we're busy. I want to delegate that. I don't want to program my own stuff. I don't want to do my own. I don't want to think I don't want to think about it that much. I want to have somebody do that work for me. So it takes a little bit of pressure off my shoulders too. And so it just is super helpful. And you're 100% correct. I think that majority of people make the mistake of thinking, I know what to do, therefore I should be able to do it. But like bridging the gap between I know what to do and actually doing it is the hardest part. That's one of the reasons why I'm not worried about AI coming in, is because everything that we know, you can literally go on ChatGPT and just like search it. And you'd probably get all the answers that we're going to give you. The thing is that the hardest part is the mindset shift, the behavior change, learning the skills. Like, I know what to do, but how do I specifically apply it to my life? How do I use my problem solving skills, creating that solution oriented mindset type of thing? That's the hard part, like overcoming a lot of the past experiences that more than likely are negative, that really sabotage your success. Like, that's the hardest part. Even people that do this for a living, we all struggle with that too. So coaches need coaches too. I'll be honest with you, I would not be able to achieve the things that I've had, like being a weightlifter, going through this extreme before and after of me losing 50 pounds and all that stuff in the beginning of my journey. I would have never been able to do it without coaches. I think there's a small population of people that can actually do it without coaches nowadays. And that's unfortunate, but like, we just live in the day and age where our environment works against us. The cards are literally stacked against us. There's not a lot of accurate information out there of what to do, or there's too much information and then everybody gets super overwhelmed. So it's really hard to do it on your own nowadays. So right. With that being said, I'm going to have Toby coach me through this whole process, and we're going to be sharing the whole thing on these episodes that we're going to be releasing on the podcast and also on YouTube. It's going to be a little bit longer form, but we're not going to keep it too long. But we're just going to be 100% transparent, the good, the bad, like you're going to see it all. You're going to see that I'm a human too. I'm going to have my good moments and bad moments, but we're also going to just share what we actually do with our clients in the back end. So that way you get a clear view of like what you could be doing in your own journey to avoid a lot of the mistakes that I made in the past, or you've probably made in the past.
For sure.
Let's dive on into it. I think, if anything, Toby, you're taking over from here, but I think that we're just going to be going over our starting point right now of where I'm starting at.
Yes. Happy New Year.
Blank slate. Let's go.
Right. For my math nerds, episode 0. Right. Because it's like in engineering, we start counting there. Now, we always like to start with a goal in mind, right? And welcome to Coaching with Me, where I share my screen more than I don't, so that you see what I see. I draw a lot on I have like a whiteboard app. I draw a lot on my whiteboard. I write things out. Like if I'm explaining something, I will write out like a takeaway sentence because it's a lot easier for people to understand and memorize. And if you can understand why I'm telling you that I suggest this change, it's much easier for you to implement it, even if you disagree, right? And we're all welcome to disagree, right? But it's a matter of kind of like taking you back to elementary school mathematics. Use this formula, but why? Because I say so. And the second that answer happens, now I'm resistant to doing it.
You're
right?
like the boss of me.
Right. But just because I don't like to use that formula, but if the teacher explains to me why this is the most advantageous formula to use, it's going to be much easier for me to actually like take that resistance and remove that so that I can actually focus on doing the work. Right. So let's start with, oh my God, for this recording tool, I have to be in a different browser and it shares screens differently. So forgive me if this takes a while.
There we go.
Here we go. All right. We always like to start with a goal in mind. And that doesn't mean that that's going to be the final goal. But once we've reached the goal, we will set a new one so that we always have an objective point of view. Subjectivity is what kills.
Yep.
Right? Because I think I should be moving faster. I think this should be more effective. I think I should be working harder. We have all, and this is what leads to self-sabotage, right? But if we can be very objective, right?
Very logical.
100%. And this is an ambitious goal, right? So our goal right now, because when we're looking starting point, we're right around, depending on scale accuracy for the day and depending on where we fluctuate from one day to the next, let's say on average, we're at 160, right? We want to, at the most, decrease roughly 10% over a fat loss phase. 5 to 10% is the sustainable interval. So the upper limit of that is roughly 15 pounds, right? So we're setting that as a goal. We always have to expect that we are going to be a little bit heavier once we are coming out of our fat loss phase. So we can conclude our fat loss phase once we reach our 10% mark, 5 to 10%. And then from there, we just have to set the realistic expectation up front that this is not the weight we're going to stay at. We are going to reverse diet, meaning we are increasing calories
100%.
to a maintenance weight, which is usually roughly 2% added to my final diet weight.
Do you mind if I take a second to say something
No,
about
go
this
ahead.
goal? Because I was the one that went in and put this goal. So
Yes.
one, when you set a goal, it doesn't have to be set in stone. So I know that cutting down to 145 is a little bit more reaching for the stars. And I believe that I can do it. I believe that I am in an environment, I'm in a phase of my life that I can be able to achieve that. But I also have to take in consideration my life. If there's other stressful things going on, if like, let's say I'm getting sick often or anything like that, like I'm willing to adjust that, but I need a goal to start like reverse engineering and building
Absolutely.
up to,
And
right?
I think people should set goals that are a little bit scary. And then from there, this doesn't mean that this is our weekly goal, right? This is
No.
just a goal. We are
Yes.
going to move into this direction. If we fall a little bit short, we are going to be okay,
Yes.
right?
100%. The other thing is that 145, I know for me, I've been 145 before when I was a competitive weightlifter and all I did was train and track my food. I was a jacked little lean bean. I loved that physique, but it was very hard for me to maintain. I couldn't go out to eat often. I had to track everything. I had to be in the gym a lot. And with my current lifestyle, I'm not willing to put that much diligence in there. I am willing to change things. Like if I want a leaner physique, I'm going to have to change my lifestyle in order to maintain that leaner physique. And there's a certain level that I am willing to do. And that's why I'm going to reverse diet down to 145 to lower than what I can maintain. That way, when I do reverse up, I know it's at a weight that I can maintain, which is about 147 to 150.
Yeah.
I think it's going to actually average about closer to 150, just being honest with myself, because I am just in this phase where I do like to enjoy myself a little bit more. Not often, but like once a week or once every other week. Your girl likes to go out, maybe have a glass of wine, maybe have a steak or something like that. As before, I was not able to do that when I was maintaining something like 145. So, and for those of you that are listening that doesn't know what reverse dieting is, we did a whole podcast episode on this, but this is the non-negotiable part of a fat loss phase. Every single client that comes in that's like, hey, I want to lose weight, we're like, okay, if you're going to lose weight, you have to commit to following through with a reverse dieting. Otherwise, all of that work that you're doing is just going to put you right back into your yo dieting process. And that's not success.
Yes.
Right. That's just, again, another attempt failure. Your body's going to adapt to it, and it's going to make it harder and harder and harder for you to start seeing results over a period of time, each time that you try.
Yes.
So commit to the reverse dieting. And I'll be honest with you guys, the reverse dieting process is always the hardest one. Toby, you're going to have to rein me in a lot on that, but
it'll be all right. I got you covered. It's not my first rodeo, right? But I always say it's like when we're done dieting, we're not done dieting. You know, now,
it's only halfway through the journey.
The way I like to approach things, right? So we met last week to kind of set a goal, and we have our goal. We know that this week, maybe next, we are kind of just preparing to enter the fat loss phase. We are trying to get all of our ducks in a row, reestablish some of the good habits that have kind of like fallen off the wagon while life was crazy on your side of things.
Yeah.
And a big thing for me to always focus on, I take a very triangular approach, right? We need to have our food. That's pretty self-explanatory. We need to have our exercise in check, but we also have to make sure that the mindset is in the right place, right? And that's where a lot of people start to lose it, right? So where I'm going to share my screen is we have our food side of things, we have the training side of things, and then I have an entirely different check-in window where we can dive a little bit more into the mindset side of things as well if we have to.
Yeah.
Right? Now, let's start with the more self-explanatory one. Last week when we met, we wanted to have roughly an average of around 2,300 calories. Now, the average that we're seeing here is a little bit skewed because of some of these days. I can't remove them, but if we...
I think... Let me double check, but I thought I tracked those up. Yeah, okay,
Maybe.
August 11th, I did track the whole day. That one's the only one that's not accurate.
So sometimes there is a little bit of, again, when there's background communication between...
Yeah, you can't always make it perfect. But just let you know, there's only one day that it didn't track.
Yes, but I usually will ignore this number, and I will simply just look at these, and then we'll go here, right? Because I can still get to see the bigger picture.
By the way, the 11th, it was 2165 on there.
Beautiful.
And then 152 protein, which is a little bit lower. But
yes.
I promise I tried that day.
No, I think you did a fantastic job tracking your food intake. It's when we're reading through this, right? It's great to hear that you were feeling a little bit more neutral and positive about the process again.
I was actually talking to Calvin about this. So for those of you listening, again, I've had previous experiences of extreme dieting where it's it kind of scares me to go in a calorie deficit again because I'm afraid I'm going to do the same thing I did before, what I worked my ass off for years to dig myself out of in terms of hormonal woes, poor relationship with food, just all these different things, finding my self-value outside of the gym and tracking my food. It was hard. And over a period of time, I've tried going back into calorie deficits to see if I can prove to myself that I can do it right. And it's always been kind of triggering. And I've had to pull myself out because the mindset side of things, my body was fine. Exercise was great. It was just the mindset of me being in a calorie deficit freaked me out mentally. And I actually, this time tracking my food, it was very neutral. I was talking to Calvin in the car and I was I'm actually really type 2 excited about this, where it's not going to be fun while I do it, but I'm going to be very excited about how it turns out at the end of this calorie deficit. Because if you put me in a calorie deficit today, I noticed that around where I would probably be in a calorie deficit, I'm guesstimating where you would probably put me at, I would have been okay stopping there. And I wouldn't have been like, oh my gosh, like, like freak out mentally, like become a mental drama queen. I was like, I'm in love with this piece that I have now, which I'm very proud of, because that kind of stuff, like everybody thinks the fitness and the nutrition part is the easiest. It's not. It's the thing in between your ears is the hardest part.
It's the simplest, not the easiest, right?
Sometimes the simplest is the hardest.
Yes. Now, this mindset shift that's a huge win, right? And I think it's going to be super beneficial as we move forward throughout these upcoming weeks.
Yeah.
However, I think you did a very phenomenal job of being self-aware and pointing out that the next step is to work on pre-planning a little bit to avoid that late day scramble. Little sneak peek, one of the 3 major downfalls that I see a lot when we're taking people through a fat loss phase is something that I call macro fitting. It's where we're trying on the run to fit the foods that I have at hand into my day and where can I manipulate. So fortune favors the prepared, right? Yes. So it's not the luck. It's just by making meal planning and pre-tracking a regular habit. Notice how I'm not saying meal prepping, right? Because sometimes that becomes annoying and I don't like to eat the same thing.
I do a hybrid. Yeah. Like I do a hybrid. Like if there's meals, like there's some meals that I can eat on repeat. Same. And I will just prep it. Like my Greek yogurt bowls, like I can, it's just
same
Greek
thing
yogurt,
every day.
Frozen fruit, nut butter, chia seeds. I just put it in containers and I don't even have to do anything for the rest of the week. But the rest of it, I typically like to do food prepping.
Absolutely.
And 100%, like whenever I go through a fat loss phase or I'm like trying to really be diligent with my nutrition, pre-tracking, like pre-planning, pre-tracking is non-negotiable. So I'll typically pre-track everything that I plan on doing for the week on Thursdays. I will order my food based off of that because like now I have my meal plan. Now I can create a grocery list and order exactly how much I need without running out of it for the rest of the week. So I do that on Friday. I order on Instacart and have it delivered to us. We live in the city, so getting to the stores that we typically shop at, it's actually cheaper for us and saves us a lot of time just to get it delivered to us.
Absolutely.
And then Saturday and Sunday, I usually split the meal prepping because I don't like doing the food prepping because I don't like doing it all in one day. ADHD brain, if you make me do it for too long, I'm out. But like if you give me that wiggle room of Saturday and Sunday, like I can be flexible. Like if we have busy weekend, one of those days I can do it on the other day. It just gives me more room to do it. I just need to get back into the swing of things. I'm going to be like time blocking it again. Time blocking is like heaven sent. If it's not on my calendar, I'm not going to do it. So it'll be time blocking, putting that in, getting back in the routine of things. I'm also going to talk to Calvin about it too, because if he's on board, I'm more likely to do it. He's really supportive on those things. And typically when I pre-plan and pre-track, I eat out less and I save a lot more money. And we like everybody loves the whole budgeting thing. Like everybody loves not spending money that they don't have to. So that's a super helpful thing. So
yes. Right. So let's aim to create a routine by setting aside time whenever you feel like your down regulating time is. Usually what I find super convenient is to setting aside time each evening before or while I'm cleaning up dinner, while I clean up the kitchen, while I'm brushing my teeth, lay out my outfit for the next day, whatever your evening routine is, right? Just plan your next day's meals and the staple things, put them in your tracking app because now you're removing decision fatigue if tomorrow becomes super crazy. You don't have to think about what you're going to eat. You can pull out your phone and it's almost like you have a menu with you at all times.
Yeah.
Right.
Guesswork. I also like if I have a busy day, I'll pre-make everything because I plan the day out. I'll pre-make everything and just put it in my fridge so I can just like take my lunch bag and it's all right there. It makes everything seamless. It's one less thing for me to think about during a busy day.
Absolutely. Powerful. Right. So let's make this a little bit more graspable. This is now where our task board is going to come in super handy, where we can now assign some actionable steps, right? So we're going to say something super simple, relatively general, doesn't have to be perfect, but setting aside 10 to 15 minutes in the evening to plan your meals and snacks for the next day, right? Using our food tracking app, logging those meals and snacks ahead of time. It's going to help you see where are your calories, where do my macros stand, what can I fit in, right? If I get like a spontaneous invite to go out, like, and smash some pizza with family in town, or whatever it is that happens, right? And it's going to help us make adjustments even before the day begins, right? It's going to help avoid the rush to fill in calories at the end of the day. And it's going to overall feel just a little bit more balanced and mindful throughout the day, right? So if we can remove that.
It makes eating not a chore. Like yesterday,
Absolutely.
I think it was 2 days ago, I had over 1,000 calories left at like 7:00 at night. I was like, I do not want to eat. Obviously, I'm going to put my big girl pants on and eat still because I need to. I need energy tomorrow. So I literally went to the grocery store and bought like grocery store sushi and like ate some chocolate chips and then like a protein shake. It was like, it wasn't bad by any means, but like I probably could have had a better choice and it wouldn't felt like such a chore during that time if I ate more evenly throughout the day. So that's going to be super, super helpful. And buying grocery store sushi is not that good and it's kind of expensive. It wasn't worth it. I kind of regretted it.
Yes, I am with you 100%. Rachel likes to sometimes when we go, she's like, can we get sushi? I was like, not here.
Yeah, like Midwest sushi is not good.
Not here. So. Now that we talked about nutrition, again, the changes don't have to be groundbreaking every single time, right? We met last week. We set your calorie goals, your protein goals. We set that already. So now it's just a matter of like creating a habit that we can be consistent within them.
Do you mind sharing what my protein goals and my calorie goals are?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. Right. So, this will look significantly more specific than it has to be. And that's simply, this is not right.
Yeah, that's not right.
Yeah, simply because in order for the app to recognize, we have to put specific macros in. Science does say that if fat loss is the goal, the ratio of carbohydrates to fats doesn't necessarily matter as long as protein and calories are equated for. But for the sake of allowing technology to work the way it's designed to, we're going to put things in here, right? So right now we're shooting for roughly 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. This is very simple because now we don't have to manipulate protein anymore through the fat loss phase. For fat, we want to be anywhere between 0.3 to 0.5 grams per pound of body weight. If we go much lower, we usually impinge on biohealth markers a little bit. If we go much higher than that, we can, but since like we're going to talk through the training piece, you like to move and feel like an athlete. We do need an ample amount of carbohydrates in your day to allow for some of that facilitation.
Also, right? I have low stomach acid. We've noticed this over a period of time working together. And when you have low stomach acid, it's hard for you to have a higher fat diet.
Yep.
So I typically thrive off. I've noticed that anywhere from 60 to 70 grams, I thrive off of that. Any more than that, then I start getting really burpy and bloaty. And it just, like, I can't do heavy fat steaks or dishes that have a lot of fat in it. I just feel so icky. And it's just because my stomach can't break it down very well. So
I think like taking an average approach of like splitting the distance between 0.3 and 0.5 just for the sake of numericals is really nice.
Yeah.
And then from there, we will simply just fill in the rest of our 2,300 with carbohydrates, right? So we're sitting somewhere around there for the maintenance period before we make an adjustment going into some fat loss. But I'll run you through the calculations on screen when we get there so that you know exactly where I'm getting my numbers from.
Boom.
Boom. Right? Looks dramatic, but that's just because sometimes like note taking isn't, or the app makes aggressive adjustments. Now, as we're talking through training, it shows when we're looking at it from a 4-week type of perspective, right? I like to take a big picture approach, right? So your commitment when it comes to working out shows, right? We know when we're looking at this, you like to move and feel like an athlete, right? And that's half the battle, enjoying this, right?
Yeah.
Finding something you enjoy. This is not all eggs in one basket, right? We can find there's some running in there, right? There's some lifting in there. There's going to be some dumbbells, some barbells. We have some high intensity stuff. It's a mix. It's a hybrid program.
Yeah.
Right. And the reason why is because that's what you enjoy.
Yeah.
So
I've been an athlete my whole life.
Mhm.
I've tried a more bodybuilding style aesthetic training, which is actually, if you enjoy it, it's really, really helpful during a fat loss phase. Even outside of a fat loss phase, it's really, really helpful for building muscle, developing a physique, all the different things. But I just don't enjoy it because it just, like, I've been an athlete my whole life. It's kind of part of my identity. I thoroughly enjoy feeling like my body is capable of something, that I can go after skills. It's more than just trying to look good naked for me. I want to feel capable. I want to feel like I can go run, or I can lift something heavy, or I can like be mobile and move well and be free of pain. Like, I like that feeling. So I'm going to stick with it because I don't get bored from it. So we've been doing our community programming. This is the programming that majority of our clients use, where it's just you're becoming a well-rounded human being.
This actually, I think, is our hybrid, like lifting and half marathon program.
No, is it?
This
Am
right
I
here,
reading it right?
This right here for sure.
Okay.
Oh no, you are absolutely right.
Yeah.
You are no. You are right. You are right.
Because I don't think I could I'll be honest with you, I don't think I could keep up our hybrid training in a calorie deficit.
No, you're no. You're 100% right. I read this wrong. I see so many of these screens. Sometimes the lines blur.
It's okay.
Now, as we're going through this, right, it's going to continue to be important to focus on progressive overload to build and keep muscle as we prepare for your fat loss phase. So this week and next, let's focus on slowly getting back to either increasing the weight or increasing the reps. We are on the main strength days, we are on a percentage based level. So if we can stick to the percentages, that will be great. And then on the accessory exercises that come after, is we can focus on either one or the other, either increasing the reps by just one, sometimes is enough, or trying to match the reps and increasing the weight a little bit. I know that a lot of programs, when we get them from, and this one too, you see here, 8 to 12 reps, that's just a convenient way to write it. But we find by reading research that we build muscle equivalently anywhere between 5 to 30 reps, as long as we're pushing ourselves hard enough.
Yeah, you got to lift heavy.
So you don't have to, just because it says 12, stop at 12, right? If you've lifted like 35 pounds for 12 reps, but you can't do 40 pounds for 8, just try to do 35 pounds for 13 to 14, right? So that we're having some form of progressive overload. Now, this is the easy part for you, right? It's where I think we need to make sure that we are maximizing our results with less food. That is essentially the same as saying increased intensity. The need for recovery will going to be important, right? 100%. With less food comes increased recovery needs. So let's start this week by focusing on not just pushing your limits, but giving your body time to recover if it needs to, making sure we're timing our food just right, having a protein-rich, carbohydrate-rich meal after we're done eating, having some attention to post-workout nutrition, making sure that in the evening, if you do chill and watch TV, stretch, foam roll, use a percussion massage gun, whatever it is that you have, we usually take that time and spend it relaxing anyway. And you would be surprised, not only is it going to enhance recovery, but it's also going to improve your sleep. Science shows that if we do some of those mobility exercises before we go to bed, we actually have more sound sleep.
Nice. I love
right?
it. And sleep is a big thing. And
huge.
Remember, guys, when you're going to calorie deficit, like it is stressful on your body. Think of your body like a bank account, right? And if you're always pulling money out of your bank account, you're going to be rolling in debt, and you don't want to be doing that. So if you're going to be taking more out, you have to be willing to put more in. So I'm willing to take more out by being in a calorie deficit. It is stressful on the body, and stress is not necessarily bad. You need stress in order to create a change, but you also need to make sure that you're pouring back into the bank account so you don't roll into debt. When you roll into debt, that's when you get cranky. You start possibly losing muscle mass. You start like hating the process, and it's just, you feel a lot of resistance physically and mentally when you are too stressed. So that's a big thing, is that like if you're going into a calorie deficit, respect that it is stressful, and be willing to pour back into the bank account through like things like recovery, food quality, and other things like that. So that's a big thing, is that like I'm going to be focusing on food quality. I know for a fact sleep is it's getting better, but it is one of my weaknesses. So it's like I'm going to have my good moments, but I'm going to have my bad moments, and I'm going to have to really be diligent around that. I think the other thing is that I'm going to, like, in terms of like my movement and my exercise, I'm going to prioritize walking, then strength training, and there is optional running. And I would like to do it, but if I am feeling very fatigued or tired, I'm more than likely just going to do something low intensity, like walking on an incline, maybe doing a bike that's chill, or just like walking outside just to get some sunlight, rather than trying to push hard on cardio.
For sure.
That's how I'm going to be triaging things.
We'll talk about some very effective activities that we can do while as we're transitioning through the fat loss phase, right? Because we now have to also factor in something that's called the stimulus to fatigue ratio. Do we want to send a stimulus for the body to change? Yes. But we also want to make sure that the fatigue ratio of that, like how many miles can you walk in a day, every day? Like there's a lot of people, it's this new thing is like walking 10,000 steps. That's roughly 5 miles. You could do that every day, right? Could you run?
My goal.
But could you run 5 miles every day?
Hell no, I'd be stressed beyond belief. And my knees and my ankles would hurt.
It's because the distance is the same, right? But the fatigue ratio that comes with it is significantly greater than the stimulus it sends for the same amount of volume.
Yeah.
Right?
It's harder to recover. CNS system's going to be fried after a while. So, Toby, do you mind going back and sharing the screen? I want to show everybody where I'm starting out with. And guys, for those of you that are like when you start off with a coach or anything like that and you feel uncomfy taking those pictures, I'm right there with you. I don't like, again, I'm not that type of person that likes to share these things. Even when I'm lean, it's not like not my thing to have eyes on me. I'm kind of a private person. I'm very much an introvert, contrary to popular belief. But I'm going to do the uncomfy because I want to be honest with you. I want to share these things with you. I want you to see the background. And I also want you to see somebody doing the hard thing and doing something that's uncomfy in order to achieve something. Now, I see a lot of change in physique already. And I haven't changed weight. That's
right.
Cool.
Now, this is now what I want to point out. So I'm going to interrupt you. And because you're about to talk about yourself very negatively.
Yeah.
And this just goes to show that it doesn't matter how great other people think you feel, right? We see an ab line insertion. We see like quads coming out. We see like a very much an hourglass-like figure. Body dysmorphia doesn't stop. It doesn't matter what your physique looks like, right? It's like, this is you right now, and you're saying you're uncomfortable, right? And I don't want to take away from that, but there's going to be a lot of people that say, I would kill to look the way you do.
Yeah.
Right.
I would like to talk about that. Okay. So yes. Again, my background, totally am self-aware of the fact that I suffer from body dysmorphia, and I do have to check in on myself. And Calvin helps me with that. He walks me through things. Like when I'm being very hard, he catches me and he's like, don't be an asshole to yourself. You need to stop that. And it's very, very helpful. But also I think that people are allowed to have a certain way that they want to be within their life. They're allowed to want a specific physique.
For sure.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I am that type of person where I am not going to tell you what you should want in your life.
Exactly.
As long as it's more of
it's my job to support you to get there in a safe way.
Exactly. And then also, I think another thing is when you're bringing in, like, if this is right or wrong, you're bringing in the question of morality. Okay. And so there's this, for the life of me, I can't remember the name of the philosopher, but I love his perspective on things. It's not necessarily the actual act that is good or bad. It is the intention, the context, and the meaning behind it, right? Just like I use a hammer, I can use it to build a house, or I can hit you upside the head. The hammer's not the wrong thing. It is, what is the intention and the context behind it, right? Are you using it for good or bad? And so it's the same thing here, is that, like, I don't hate myself. Am I uncomfy? Yeah. Do I want to fit in my clothes better? Yeah. I have a bunch of clothes in my closet that I really love that I want to fit into again. I don't want to buy new clothes. I want to save that money. And I have a specific physique that I know it's going to make me feel very fulfilled and happy. But I do it out of a place of love, right? If I stayed this way, I'd be perfectly fine. But I like the challenge. I want to also prove to myself that I can go through a fat loss phase and it's not scary. Like, I want to break that emotional attachment. Like, I feel like I'm not in control. And the only way for you to be in control is to have more of a neutral standpoint. It's neither good or bad. I can do it or not. And I think that is one of the big reasons why I want to do this, actually, is not necessarily extrinsic, like external, like motivation where I want to fit my clothes better. I want to feel more confident in my body. I think it's more intrinsic. Like, I just want to prove to myself that I can do this.
Yes. And I think the cool thing is that when we're thinking back to a time, and anyone who's listening can do that exercise, think back to a time when you were the most productive at work, when you had the most time with friends, when you had the best relationship with your parents. More than likely, you were in better health and in a better shape compared to where you're at right now.
Yeah. And you can you can see this too, is like when I was really, really active on social media, it was also where I was very, very comfortable. I was about 150 pounds. I was very comfortable in my body, and I was more willing to show up. And that is a whole nother discussion that we can go into, of whether or not I should be in social media more or not. That's a whole nother discussion. I am a human being. I get it. We're going to have a podcast episode on this, but I think that I'm very, very happy with this choice. I think that we're going to do this in a really great way. And we're also going to show you that this doesn't have to suck. You can do it in the right way that makes your life better, not make you feel like you're trapped in your own personal prison and it just sucks.
Right. So now we have our 3 actionable steps that we're going to focus on. It looks like 2 in the tasks, right? But practicing progressive overload when we're working out, making sure we're taking 10 to 15 minutes of planning my meals for tomorrow. Yes, we do that on the weekends too. The weekends are also weekdays. They're not vacations. It's just a day where you have more time to yourself because the mundane day-to-day stress has fallen off, right? Incorporating some recovery strategies in the evening. Now, you mentioned earlier, when are the days where you normally food prep? Like you portion out your carbs, you like when are those 2 days?
Yeah, so I pre-track the whole week. Thursdays, order groceries. Fridays, meal prep or food prep Saturday and Sunday. And then on the daily, I just adjust the next day depending on my day. Like, just because I put it into my app doesn't mean that I can't adjust it later on. At least I have a template to go off of to start with. Yeah, I do this for clients too. It's like,
yes,
put this in your calendar.
I just want to make sure that we are keeping track of these, and
I'm actually following through the actions that I need in order to achieve the calorie deficit in the training that I want to do. So I think another thing to point out, guys, is that when we were going over my calories, we're not in a calorie deficit yet. Like, Toby said before, we need to make sure that we have a solid foundation. We have the things we need to be doing already in action before we go into calorie deficit. Because if you try to get back into the routine of things while being in a calorie deficit, it's a little much at once. Like when you go into a calorie deficit, it should be a simple transition where it's like, oh, that's it. Like all I have to do is just adjust my calories. And you're like, oh, this seems very, very simple. And it's like, yes, it should be. That's when you know you're ready for a fat loss phase mentally, is where it's like, it's just seamless. Like the check-ins with your coach should be like, yeah, great job. Or it should be just like very streamlined and straightforward and very simple. If it feels overcomplicated, if you're doing too many different things on the mindset side or the skill side of like meal prepping, all that stuff, it probably shows you that you're not quite ready yet. You don't have the routine down. You don't have the foundation down, which is just going to more than likely sabotage your success in the long run. Take a second, build your foundation. I've been doing this for a while, so it's only going to take, how long are we want to being in a foundation phase for?
In a foundation phase, it's you've been around maintenance while you've been around gaintenance for quite some time. So we probably just have to like take, and this is now very, very different from other people, right? Some people have been under eating for a long time before starting to work with someone. So we may have to reverse diet a little bit longer. Someone,
that metabolism in place
if you've been overeating for a long time, we can probably start dieting the second we got the habits that we need to have in place all set.
Yeah.
For you, it was just recovering from the stress of life.
That was
so making sure that we are prioritizing mental and physiological recovery from that before we are placing a stressor like calorie deficit. So last week we said 2 weeks. So this week will be next week. And then talking next week, we'll make a plan for
the calorie deficit. I agree.
Correct.
I mean, I do feel better, but I still feel like I'm going to the gym and I'm lifting and I'm doing much lighter weights, but I'm not recovering as much as I usually do. Like sleep is still, I'm still waking up not feeling too recovered. And it's because I went through like 2 weeks of extreme stress and barely any sleep. Like my body's not going to recover just like that from an event like that. For those of you who are listening and just tuning in, my dad had a heart attack, like the Widowmaker type of heart attack. It was very, very scary, but luckily he came out on the other end. Whoo, that was hard. I still get emotional talking about it. Holy crap.
You should. It was a very scary thing.
It was. So, oh God, I was not expecting this. Sorry, Toby. I know how much you hate feelings. Anyways.
It just shows that this is going to sound weird, right? But it just shows how you feel about him. Right? It's tears usually mean it's things only hurt when we love someone.
Yeah. We're going to stop talking about it because I don't want to cry right now. It's too early in the fucking day to do that.
Too late.
Right now.
Too late.
I know. Anyways, he's doing great, guys. But it was just really tough mentally and physically. We just need to give ourselves some grace and some time to recover from it.
Absolutely.
Going into calorie deficit at the same time, oh God, it would be a shit show. So we're giving it some time. And also, I always say this, is that even if I've been tracking for a long period of time, I need a couple of weeks to get back in the swing of things. Like you saw a whole day that it didn't track. And when I actually get in the swing of things, I'm going to diligently track every single day. Even if I accidentally eat like a little bit of a trash panda, I'm still going to own my shit and track everything as best as possible, because it helps me own my actions, but also it helps Toby know what we need to do objectively rather than going off of what I think is happening. What you think and feel, like you were talking about before, is usually like causes self-sabotage.
And it allows me to ask a question, right? Kind of like we did on that day where it said like 900 calories. I was like, hey, I think this is a technical error or you just forgot to track.
Yeah.
But just for accuracy's sake, did you really only eat 900 calories, right? And it's like, it allows us, and it's the same thing when it says like 5,000 calories. It's like, I'm not going to shame you for it. I'm now jealous. It's like,
how'd you eat that much food?
Like, how come you didn't invite me?
Yeah.
You know,
that sounds like a good day.
Yes.
Hard to recover from. You're probably gonna feel like crap for about a week, but
yeah,
hey,
you
man.
got like 9 pounds of poop in your system now.
Yeah. So this one was a little bit of a longer episode. We plan on making these a little bit shorter, but we just wanted to give you guys a background of why we're doing this, how we're going to be doing it, things that we're going to be tracking. And each week we're going to be going over more and more and more. It's a little hard to fit everything that we are going to be going over in just one episode. But I want you guys to keep coming back week by week. We're going to share like my before and after, like my pictures over a period of time, my measurements, my accuracy, my habits, and we're also going to go on the mindset side of things of what I think I'm doing well with, what I think I'm struggling with, like just owning my shit too and giving you guys an honest perspective of what it's like to go through a fat loss phase. I think that social media does a really great job of just highlighting everything and just making it seem so easy. And everybody's like, but it's not this easy for me. And so people feel very unheard or unrelated to. And it's hard for them to actually see the results that they want because they're like, why is it so hard for me when it's so easy for the social media person? It's not. They just don't share it with you. They don't share those struggles with you. And so we're going to do that here. So we hope that this helps you. If you want to, I am going to be starting the Everyday Fat Loss series. I think not this week, next week, maybe the week after that. I still have to sit down. I'm going to be like coming out with a calendar and ideas because I need to have it in my calendar again. It doesn't happen unless it's in my calendar. So I need some time. But if you want to follow me on social media and do that, please do so. Also follow Toby. He puts out some really great information out there too. And you also started a YouTube channel too. We'll put that down in the show notes too. So that way you guys can follow along. This is what we do. We just share information to help you become the CEO of your health. It's authentic, but it's actually going to be practical and it's going to help you see the results that you're looking for. And if you have any questions through the whole process, please DM me like on social media, like email, what have it. Toby mentioned this in our last podcast. Like we love answering questions. We want to help you. It actually gives us a lot of joy and fulfillment when you guys come and ask us questions.
Yes.
And we just want to help you guys.
Even if you disagree, like let's have an educated conversation. It's like there's so much of rah, you're doing this wrong. This is the best way out there nowadays because people like to create problems to sell their own solution, and they will try to attack everyone who has a competitive solution to sell. So let's see if we can, if you disagree, if we can find some common and some middle ground, and let's see if we can educate and change each other's mind, or if we agree to disagree, right? But like civil discourse is phenomenal. That's how you learn. That's how you grow.
Yeah, you're allowed to disagree with people, but you don't have to be disrespectful for people,
Exactly.
too. And our philosophy is very much like we bridge the gap between what science tells us, but also finding out what works best for you. Because you're not a robot, you're a human being. And number one thing is what is going to be consistent for you. If keto is what's going to make you like be consistent, you're like, this makes me fucking happy and I know I can do this for the rest of my life, then great. Even with what science says, where it doesn't necessarily support a lot of people. If it works for you, fucking dope. And we're going to be happy for you.
100%.
That's our
right?
philosophy. We're not here to tell you what to do. We're here to guide you on what works best for you, but also bring science in to help you make a very objective and educated decision instead of using what's diet culture bullshit that we see on social media.
Like for you, right? It's like keto works for someone, but it may not work for you because your body has a very hard time eating a higher fat diet. That doesn't mean that it's inherently bad.
Yeah, it
right?
just doesn't work for me.
There's so many dietary principles out there because they all work for someone.
Exactly.
Right? But there is no the best, no the optimal. There's only the best for you.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right. So.
Well, we love you guys. We're looking forward to seeing you in the
Mwah.
future. We're doing this every single week. We're recording on Thursdays. I believe I'm going to try to release it at the end of the week or maybe the weekend. I don't know. We haven't decided yet. So when you're listening to this, you'll know what day we chose. But you can tune in every single week. We'll share it on the podcast, on YouTube. We'll share it on social media as well. So we love you guys. We'll see you next time. Thank you, Toby.
You are most welcome.
Let's have some fun.
Catch you in the next one.
Ooh, confetti. I love that.